In the fall of 1998, deep within a remote mountain range, a small village officially appeared on maps. Its name was Kalderan. About 300 people lived there: families, children, farmers, and elders. Everyone shared a quiet, harmonious life, cut off from the outside world. Kalderan was so isolated that news rarely reached its inhabitants. Narrow mountain roads twisted through dense forests, and sudden cliffs made travel treacherous. Many outsiders described it as a place where time itself seemed to slow down. The villagers relied on one another. Farmers shared crops. Families helped each other with daily chores, and children learned from both elders and peers. The day began at sunrise with farmers going to the fields, children running to school or playing outside, and elders gathering to share stories from the past. By evening, everyone returned home to the warm glow of oil lamps. There was an unspoken rhythm to life in Kalderan, a quiet understanding that life was fragile but precious. The village had a few small shops, a modest schoolhouse, a central marketplace, and at its heart, an ancient stone well. According to local folklore, this well was no ordinary source of water. At night, faint whispers could sometimes be heard emanating from its depths. Shadows appeared to shift unnaturally, and some villagers swore that the well contained a presence, a door to something beyond comprehension. Most dismissed these stories as old myths, but the fear lingered quietly, like a distant echo. Daily life continued peacefully. Farmers tended their crops, children ran through the narrow streets laughing, and the elders shared tales under the stars. Occasionally, someone would glance nervously at the well as twilight approached. No one knew exactly why, only that a tradition and a warning had been passed down for generations. Do not linger near the well after dark. No one ever explained the reasoning. It was a rule woven into the very fabric of village life. On the first week of October 1999, official contact with Kalderan ended abruptly. A supply truck had arrived, delivering food, medicines, and essential goods. The driver reported that the villagers behaved strangely, silent, withdrawn, avoiding eye contact. The children played quietly without laughter. Elders spoke in hushed tones, and even the dogs seemed restless. Something about the village felt off, as though it were holding its breath, waiting for an event that none could foresee. 3 days later, when authorities arrived to check on the village, Kalderan was completely empty. Initial assumptions pointed to floods, disease, or some sudden disaster forcing the villagers to flee. But what the investigators discovered was far stranger. Every house stood intact. Meals remained on tables, cups half filled with tea, clothes neatly folded, toys scattered as if children had just left to play. Not a single person could be found. No bodies, no footprints, no signs of struggle or conflict. It was as though the entire population had vanished into thin air. Search teams scoured the surrounding forest for weeks. Helicopters combed the mountains. Dogs sniffed every trail, and nearby towns were canvassed for sightings of displaced villagers. Nothing was found. No trusts, no abandoned camps, no trace of life, only dense wilderness and silence. At the center of the village stood the ancient well. Locals insisted it was more than a simple source of water. "It is a door," they whispered, "a door to something beyond." Some investigators initially scoffed at such stories, but on the third night of their stay, they heard it. Soft, almost imperceptible, a whisper from the well. One officer claimed he saw movement in the shadows around the stone structure. Another said he felt a chill that was not from the mountain air. That very night, one officer vanished. No one saw him leave. No footprints, no struggle, nothing to explain his disappearance. Fear gripped the team. The area was declared off-limits. Kalderan was quietly erased from official records, as if acknowledging its existence had been a mistake. Years later, hikers and travelers reported sightings of the village again. It appeared perfectly normal, yet completely devoid of people. Shadows flitted between houses. Faint whispers echoed along the narrow streets. and the wind seemed to carry voices calling out names. Names of people who had vanished decades ago. Those who attempted to follow these voices rarely returned. Researchers and historians offered theories. Some speculated that the village had been the site of secret experiments, possibly military or scientific. Others believed paranormal forces were at work, some kind of temporal displacement, a ripple between worlds. Still, no one had definitive proof. The mystery of Kalderan only deepened. What makes this village even more unsettling is the persistence of life's minutiae in its emptiness. In one house, a pot of stew had been left to cool on the stove. In another, a child's shoes lay neatly by the door, as if waiting for someone to return. The school books were still open, pens scattered across desks, chalk marks on the blackboard telling of lessons never completed. Even the market stalls held fruits and vegetables, untouched by time or decay. It was a village frozen mid-breath, mid-action. Nightfall brought new phenomena. Investigators described faint glimmers moving behind windows, whispers that seemed to originate from no physical source, and an overwhelming sense of being watched. Attempts to record sounds using microphones produced static, followed by low hums resembling human voices. Cameras occasionally captured unidentifiable shapes that seemed to flicker in and out of existence. Local legends resurfaced. Elders spoke of the well's origins, claiming it was built by a sect of monks centuries ago, dedicated to guarding a portal to another realm. They said the whispers were warnings, the shadows were guardians, and the villagers had long been aware of the danger. Those who ignored the rules, those who lingered too close after dark, were said to be taken by the portal, disappearing without a trace. Over the years, Kalderan became a subject of fascination for paranormal investigators, historians, and thrill seekers. Books were written, documentaries filmed, and online forums dedicated to the village's mysteries emerged. Yet the village's secret remained intact, a puzzle that resisted every attempt at explanation. One researcher who spent weeks near the site reported that the atmosphere itself seemed alive. The air carried the scent of damp earth mixed with something metallic. Faint but persistent, shadows moved against the trees in ways that defied natural physics, and whispers seemed to form words just out of comprehension. Sleep was impossible. Even in daylight, the village exuded an oppressive, watchful energy. Visitors described their experiences with consistent themes: an irresistible urge to look toward the well, sudden chills, fleeting glimpses of figures in peripheral vision, and the sensation of being called by voices familiar yet not human. Those who lingered too long sometimes returned hours or days later with no memory of what had occurred. Or worse, not at all. Despite decades of study, Kalderan remains an unsolved mystery. Governments, scientists, and local communities alike have chosen caution over curiosity. The village and its well continue to hold secrets that may never be understood. Some claim it is a portal. Others believe it is a manifestation of collective fear, a psychological phenomenon amplified by isolation and legend. The truth, whatever it may be, remains hidden. Kalderan stands today as a silent warning. Some places are not meant to be found, and some mysteries are best left untouched. Its abandoned streets, whispering well, and shadowed corners continue to inspire fascination and fear alike. The vanishing village of Kalderan, a place that disappeared overnight, still haunts our imagination, reminding us that the world holds corners beyond comprehension, where human presence may be fleeting and the line between reality and the unknown blurs.